Today's broadcast is proudly sponsored by StreamYard, the quintessential tool that has powered every single one of our shows since the birth of Paraverse Live. If you've ever contemplated venturing into the world of live broadcasting, podcasting, or even hosting your own online webinars, allow us to introduce you to StreamYard, a game changer that will redefine your content creation experience. Gone are the days of being tethered to a desktop or laptop. With StreamYard, your mobile phone becomes your control center, offering the same powerful capabilities and convenience at your fingertips. No fancy camera or microphone? No problem. StreamYard simplifies everything, making it accessible to everyone. Selecting your streaming destinations has never been easier. With options like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the ability to add custom destinations, your content can reach audiences far and wide. One of StreamYard's standout features is the ability to multi-stream, effortlessly sharing your content across multiple platforms from a single location. StreamYard offers 3 distinct plans, each tailored to your specific needs. While StreamYard Free is a great starting point, their paid versions unlock a lot of benefits that will make your stream a lot more professional. Constant innovation is at the heart of StreamYard. New features are continually added to enhance the quality and professionalism of your streams, including our new favorite, the video background. By choosing annual billing for the starter and professional plans, you can save over $60 and $120 respectively each year. Monthly billing options make affordability a priority. StreamYard's plans cater to different needs. Basic provides unlimited streaming, multi-streaming to 3 platforms, unlimited local recordings, and access to logos, overlays, and backgrounds. Meanwhile, the professional plan elevates your capabilities with full HD, the use of an extra camera, multi-streaming to 8 destinations, and even the ability to go live using a 2-hour pre-recorded video. If reaching the widest audience is your goal, this is an absolute must. Once you're signed up and within the StreamYard platform, simplicity reigns supreme. The dashboard grants you access to comments from every platform you're streaming to in one place, while the ability to display banners, change logos, showcase images and videos, alter backgrounds, and even incorporate background music is all at your fingertips. Personalize your stream even further with overlays, and then converse privately with your guests. StreamYard allows you to pre-record both video and audio shows, making it an ideal solution for those contemplating podcasting with distant co-hosts. This is something that has always attracted us to using StreamYard. One of StreamYard's recent updates that we absolutely love is the ability to edit and repurpose local recordings, creating shorter videos, shorts, and reels, all within the platform. There is no need to invest in additional editing software. It's all right here. This is just the beginning of the endless possibilities StreamYard offers. It is truly an all-in-one solution for content creators. To embark on your journey with the utmost professionalism, simply click the link in the description. StreamYard is your gateway to seamless and captivating broadcasting. Don't wait. Start your hosting journey today with StreamYard. Hello. So that was a very, very long beginning, wasn't it? So, as you may have seen, we're now sponsored by StreamYard. We're very excited to have such an awesome sponsor that's been part of the history of Paraverse since day one. The first stream we ever did was straight through StreamYard onto Facebook. That wobbly, terribly sounding, really crappy quality because I had the world's worst webcam and no microphone, and it was absolutely crap. Please don't go back and watch the old videos. They were really bad. But we've been using StreamYard since day one, so I'm very, very happy about that. The only downside is we have to put up the video, which means a 4-minute long video at the beginning of the stream. That's why I stuck it at the beginning, so people watching back just skip it. It's fine. But anyway, so we have a lot to get through, so let's get started. Speaking of sponsors, you might have noticed, a few of you may have seen my new t-shirt, which is, which side are we on? That side? There. Third Eye Clothing. Don't mind, mate. Their clothing range goes live on the 20th of October, so in just under a week. If you go to their website before then, which is thirdeyeclothing.co, you can enter your email to be notified when everything goes live. The quality is amazing, the prints are fantastic, and their designs are really vibrant. I'll definitely be ordering as many more as I can when it's all gone live, so definitely worth checking those out. Another thing I'm excited about is speaking to tonight's guest. Malcolm Robinson's been on the show before. Anyone again that remembers when we have done videos in the past? I think it was over a year ago now. He was one of our most popular guests, as well as a personal favourite. So I've been looking forward to speaking with Malcolm again. So yeah, again, another little thing to mention, the same as the last few weeks. If you see me looking down here, I am live on TikTok at the moment as well. And again, the people on TikTok, if you see me looking over here, I'm currently live on YouTube and Twitch and everything else. I'm trying to get TikTok to let me stream from here to there, but it won't let me at the moment. There's a whole thing with stream keys and it's dull and boring. But I will hopefully get that sorted as fast as possible, and you won't be looking at the side of my face forever. So where are we? So yes, another quick thing to mention is Malcolm is joining us, but he only has audio today. I think he's had issues with cameras and God knows what. It's always technical stuff. More than understand technical issues. So have a quick look through the comments, see who's here, and then we'll quickly get Malcolm in and we'll get chatting. So yes, Chris is in. Always, sorry you're late. You're only late enough to miss most of the intro. It's fine. Yeah. Hi, Chris. James. It was a bit long, but yeah, it was a bit long. You have to do what you have to do, I suppose. It didn't seem too long, to be fair. Thanks, Luna. Thank God for that. I have one of their t-shirts. Sizes are great. It's comfy, soft. The designs are amazing. Yes, definitely worth checking those out. And for anyone on TikTok that didn't see, how cool is that? Get yourself on. So, anyway, that's enough of that. Let's bring on tonight's guest. This is, for the man that needs no introduction. Yeah, I'm going to introduce him anyway. I did write an introduction. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Yes, there we go. Oh, you wouldn't think I've been doing this for over a year, would you? So unprofessional. Anyway, let's bring in tonight's guest. UFO and paranormal investigator for SPI and author of several amazing books on the topics of UFOs and the paranormal. It's Malcolm Robinson. Round of applause.
A very good evening, Nate.
How are you?
I'm very well, yes. Always busy, always smiling, and just, just keeping my feet firmly on the ground and just seeing where it takes us. But yeah, enjoying the paranormal journey for sure.
Good. Speaking of the paranormal journey and being very busy, I did see on social media that you've had a rather busy weekend. How did last night go?
Last night was fantastic. Yeah, what it was, I gave a lecture on Scotland's biggest poltergeist case. That's the Socky poltergeist, which occurred to 11-year-old Virginia Campbell way back in 1960. So I kicked off the show with that, and following me was SPI's psychic, a lovely guy called Stephen Bird, and he provided life after death communication, which was absolutely mind-blowing. It was outstandingly brilliant. And I think everybody's jaw was dropping on the floor, and he really impressed me as well. I mean, I've seen him a few times, but that's certainly the best I've ever seen him. And yeah, it was just a great all-round night, and we finished it off with a disco, would you believe? So a psychic night to a disco, a big difference for sure. Yeah, but it was good, great night.
Nice. I think I couldn't think of anything worse than ending a night with a disco, but that's just me. Where was I? So I've scrolled all the way down to the bottom of my list of questions instead of being at the top. Yes, I've also seen that you've been doing a lot of interviews and filming for documentaries. You're a very, very popular man recently. Is there anything that's come out that we should go to the top of our watch list, or anything to keep an eye out in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did a recent thing with Channel 5. It was to do with Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, and that was transmitted about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I believe it's still on catch up. So if anybody wants to catch that about Nessie, then you'll see my ugly mug on that. And not just me, other researchers, of course, as well. And I think and I'm not just saying this, but I really honestly think it's probably one of the better Loch Ness documentaries that's been put out there over the years. It's very sensible, it's honest, we cover all the hoaxes. The flipper photograph as well, that was obviously enhanced by the Academy of Applied Science, although it's disputed, but clearly it has, because when you look at the original flipper photograph claiming to show Nessie's flipper, it's nothing like the one that's in all the books and on the TVs. It's clearly edged, enhanced, blacked out to make it look like a diamond-shaped rhomboid flipper. So that was the Channel 5 thing. January or February, I'm in the Great River Journeys. Would you believe, not to do with the paranormal of UFOs. It was filmed because the Beatles, the very first time the Fab Four ever played in Scotland, was back in Alloa in 1960 at Alloa Town Hall. Now, I currently live in Sauchie, which is in Clackmannanshire, and Sauchie is only about half a mile away from Alloa. I'm a big Beatles fan, and I always said that, we should really commemorate this. We should really put a plaque up on the wall to commemorate the fact that the Beatles played there. So, long story short, I fought with Clackmannanshire Council. We managed to get a brass plaque placed at the very front of Alloa Town Hall to commemorate the fact that John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison and Tommy Moore. Tommy Moore was a drummer at the time, even before Pete Best and Ringo Starr. So that comes out on Great River Journeys because the River Forth skirts Alloa. So that's why, obviously, it's part of the River Journeys. Also in January or February, would you believe, this time, is Great Railway Journeys, hosted by Michael Portillo. And this one's to do with the famous Deckmont Woods UFO incident of 1979. So I did a piece with Michael there. Coming up in November next month, I'll be working with the Ancient Aliens. They're coming over from America to film a piece about Scotland, so that should be interesting. And this Saturday, I'll be away on an unexplained cruise. I've been invited to present 2 lectures on this cruise ship, which is sailing off the coast of Florida. And the good thing about it, Nath, is it's all expenses paid for me and my partner. And like I say to people, I don't knock on these people's doors. I don't phone them asking, "Oh, please let me go on a cruise." They come to me, and there's no way in God's earth am I going to turn around and say, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't go on your cruise. I'm combing my hair tonight."
Yeah.
Of course. So that's it. And then a few weeks ago, just to finish off with your question there, a few weeks ago, myself and councillor Billy Buchanan went down to 10 Downing Street to present a demand letter to Rishi Sunak to open up a government inquiry into the UFO sightings in Great Britain. We've done that for the past 10 years or so with David Brown, Gordon Brown, John Major, and various other, Tony Blair, various other prime ministers that all fell on deaf ears. The reason we did it this time is simply because America is coming clean. They're really showing the way forward, and Britain is dragging its heels. It doesn't want to get involved. And America, you know, you've had the disclosure, you've had the Pentagon releasing files, you've had the press club doing stuff, even NASA. 16 scientists was involved in that, including one former astronaut was looking into the UFO enigma earlier this year. So we felt that Britain really needs, you know, God's sake, you've got to act now. So we went down, first of all, to 10 Downing Street. Then we went over to the Ministry of Defence building, and then latterly to the Westminster. So yeah, fingers crossed we may have shaken a tree. Let's see what falls out.
Nice. Well, I definitely, you might not have been knocking on any doors to get a cruise, but I definitely would. I'm definitely not combing my hair. So if anyone wants to give me a cruise, I'm more than happy to knock on their door. So you've also somehow, even including all of that stuff, you've also been busy writing. So you have a new book out, the Paranormal Case Files of Great Britain, Volume 4. These types of books are always great. They tell regular people's stories, not just the overhyped famous cases. Could you give us a few examples of the stories that have made it into Volume 4?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the reason I write books in the first place is to get these stories out. We have to ensure that any story that comes, you know, makes itself known to me. We have to ensure that it's honest, it's viable, it's correct. And this is why we tell these stories, because people want to unload. When I give lectures, etc., people come to me and say, Malcolm, I haven't even told my own husband about this, but I'm going to tell you. And they just want to unload these stories. And no matter where you go in life, you'll always have an auntie or an uncle or somebody who could tell a story that's happened to them. It's there. So collecting these stories, they have to have a vehicle to get out there. And that is, of course, the books. And I'll share a couple of stories with your good self, Nath, and also your lovely listeners. A good friend of mine, Alien Bill Rook, some listeners may be aware of the gentleman. He's taken some astonishing photographs of strange lights in the sky, etc. Quite an incredible. You need to get him on your show, by the way. He's an intelligent guy. Anyway, like most people in Great Britain, or in that respect of world, we love our pets. We love our animals. We love our dogs, our cats, our horses. And he loved this little dog called Rocky. And it was half Chihuahua and half King Charles Spaniel. It was probably about the size of a terrier. And it lived its long life. And it passed away, as all sadly, you know, animals do. Or did it? Because one night he was going downstairs, and there, sitting at the foot of the stairs, was his dead dog Rocky, with its head cocked, looking as if it wants to go out for a walk. He was amazed at this, and he started walking down the stairs, and as he got to the little dog, it just dematerialized and vanished before his eyes. On other occasions, he's been lying in bed in the morning, ready to get up, and then bang, the bed springs go down, and you can clearly feel the presence of a small animal, which he obviously believes is Rocky, just nestling down at the foot of the bed, just cooling in. He's also experienced it in the living room. He used to scratch the furniture, and he used to obviously chase it away. He didn't want the furniture scratched. So he's watching the television. Bill's watching the television one day, and he hears a and he looks down, and he sees Rocky, but it was like more translucent, more kind of, it wasn't solid this time, you know. And Bill's wife, Victoria, she's also seen him running about the garden. And even last week, I phoned Bill last week, and I says, look, are you still seeing Rocky? Oh, yes, yes. Not so much seeing him, but feeling him rubbing against their legs. And so it's great that, obviously I'm a spiritualist, and I've said that on your show before. I firmly believe in life after death, and it's great that not only will we see our loved ones who's gone before us in spirit, will also see our pets as well. So that's a great comfort, you know.
Yeah. Just a quick FYI, there is a little bit of clicking on your mic. It's kind of
Okay.
a little bit of back feedback. I don't know whether it's distance to the mic or just I don't know what it is. But anyway, so yeah, we've had personal things with pets and stuff, and like the amount of times I thought I fell over the dog and there was no the dog wasn't there and things like that. We've seen lots and lots of strange things around the house. So there's definitely a lot of personal evidence that there's definitely not just a life after death for people, or at least whether I'm not sure 100% whether I believe in life after death, but there's definitely something paranormal going on. There's definitely evidence that something paranormal is going on around animals as well as humans. So next
Yeah.
question would be, what would your favorite story be that you've heard to date? One of the one that sold it to you the most, that you think, wow, you've definitely got something amazing going on there.
Do you mean concerning my latest book, or just a paranormal story
If
in
it made
general?
it into the book, or if it's that you've written in any other book before, just whatever is your personal story.
Well, I do have one which I may have mentioned on your show before, but I will tell that again for any new listeners. But before I
Okay.
tell that story, um, Bill Rourke has got a number of other strange tales to tell which are relate in this book, and I'll just give you a couple of more for instances before we reach
Okay.
the one that really blew me away. This one happened back in September 2020, and he had just left the Lysander Arms pub in Rockcliffe near York. He wasn't drunk, he was cycling home, and it was pouring rain, absolutely chucking it down. All this is in the book, pouring rain. Then suddenly he found himself in an area where he doesn't know how he got there. He just completely went, where the hell am I? And it was like a small lane with trees on the left and trees on the right. And it was like a little lane that fed into adjacent houses, houses at the bottom of the lane, houses at the top. But it was trees on either side of this lane. And the rain's battering down. And then suddenly he saw this tall figure of a woman in a cape, big hood. And he went, oh, aye, this is very strange. And she wasn't walking as such. When you and I walk, our shoulders tend to go down. But she was gliding along this pathway. And she was about 2 to 3 feet away from him. And he says, I better get out of the way here. So he moved his bicycle away to the left to let her pass. But then he did something which, well, what he did was he got his bicycle light and he shone it into the lady's face. However, there were no face whatsoever. That really freaked him out. And she just glided past him, and the rain seemed to go through her. It didn't like bounce off her cape or anything. It was going right through her. And then he came to his senses and he went, by Christ, I better take a photograph of this or nobody's going to believe me. So he grabbed his camera, and I think you know what happened next. As soon as he lifted his camera up to take a photograph of her, she just dematerialized and was gone. And that was crazy. Another story to do with Bill Rourke was at the Freedom Centre in Hull, and that's in Yorkshire. This was last year. I was given a talk there about the Socky poltergeist, which will become relevant in a moment. But this first part of the story, would you believe, crazy as it sounds, starts in the gents' toilets. Bill went in to relieve himself, and he went into the gents' toilets, and it was, this was at the Outer Limits conference. That's why I'm saying the Freedom Centre. It was a big conference last year. So Bill went into the gents' toilets. Nobody was there. Nobody was there at all. Then after he had done his business, he was washing his hands. Then to the right side of his head, in his right ear, he heard this. He heard, "You all right, mate?" An old man's gravelly voice saying, "You all right, mate?" And he turned around and expecting somebody to be there, and nobody was there. So he checked the cubicles. Nobody was there. Nobody was in the cubicles as well. So that was the first part of the strange morning. In the afternoon, I was on stage talking about the Socky poltergeist. So picture the scene, big audience. Bill was sat at the back of the hall with his wife, Victoria, and Kathy Cogliano from the United States of America, who travelled over for the conference. Now, what I'm going to say to you and your lovely listeners is you probably won't believe it. This is why I love this subject so much, because it's so bizarre. Picture the scene. So you're sitting down, you're watching, I was on stage, and then suddenly, instantaneously, this forearm just materialized from fingertip to elbow, dressed in a black kind of suit-like affair. Just an arm. That's all it was. And it was only about a foot away from their knees, because they're sitting down, so their knees are there. And it was only and it was moving from right to left. And there were no rings on this hand. There were no any signs of any veins. You know, elderly people have prominent veins, etc. And at the elbow, it tapered off into fuzzy. It was just fuzzy. You know, it wasn't concrete. It wasn't solid at the elbow. It was fuzzy. And it moved slowly in front of Bill. It moved slowly in front of Vic. It moved slowly in front of the American lady, Kathy. And then bang, disappeared. Now, I interviewed Bill. He says, Malcolm, I don't care what you think. I wasn't on drugs, nothing. I saw this. Interviewed Kathy Cogliano, and she says, Malcolm, by Christ, I could not believe this. And this is why the paranormal is so wonderful for me, because it's not just physical, top to toe, head to foot apparitions. You get body parts as well. You look at the photographs, you'll get a small hand holding someone's shoulder. You'll get a foot, and you'll maybe just get a leg. So, but to have this arm, you know, and that was quite bizarre. And it is a kind of haunted place as well. So that was it was crazy, you know.
Yeah, and as someone that's really interested in the science behind how the paranormal works, I had a conversation with someone a few weeks ago where I was saying that obviously the paranormal is a thing. It's happening, whether it be ghosts, poltergeists, UFOs, cryptids, whatever. There's something happening, whether it's mass hallucinations or physical, actual things that are happening. Science will have to change to explain what it is. So there will be a scientific answer eventually. I love that that's a thing that's, we're going to have to figure that out. So the idea of new science is always really interesting. So it really it hurts my brain to think about, but in the best way, of how science is going to explain a forearm, just the forearm.
Yeah.
What was so special about the arm? Why was only the arm visible? These are all questions that I'd love to know the answers to, and it makes it even more interesting of a subject for me, because that's a weird thing to see. So it makes it that the answers are going to be really odd.
Yeah, I think science needs to wake up. I mean, clearly the science is ever growing. We know that. You know, things are moving on rapidly in technology and medicine, etc. People use a lot of gizmos on ghostly investigations. Apparatus is changing, EVPs, different things. So I'd like to think that one day we will have these answers, but you and I know that most scientists they don't want to get involved with this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it could really muddy their career. They get poked fun at with their peers, etc. It's a very dangerous subject for scientific men to get involved, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because science is it's there to be understood, and these things. People may laugh and poke fun at the paranormal and ghosts and poltergeists, but as you and I know, these things have been going on for centuries, and we may think we've got the answers, but do we truly have the answers? But I just hope, like you, Nathan, that we do have these answers. I would like to think and hope, certainly in my lifetime, for sure.
I like to think that maybe a little bit, at least, probably kind of clutching at straws, but hoping that whatever the answers, now science can happily, a little bit more openly look into the UFO phenomenon because of the the American Congress and even NASA looking into UFOs. The fact that now it makes it a little bit less of a taboo subject for scientists to look at, and they've even acknowledged that they may need new physics to explain the capabilities of some of these UFO sightings. That new physics could open up explanations for the paranormal, which makes it so scientists can look into the paranormal without being mocked, because now the science says this could be a thing, this could be possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, people are looking at quarks and neutrinos and superstring theory. Clearly, there are dynamics out there. There are these other dimensions, and I honestly believe that's where most of the paranormal inhabits, is other dimensionals, worlds, call them what you will, you know. Obviously, animals can see a different spectrum. They can hear differently from humans, so they are seeing into a different spectrum. Hence, most animals can see spirit more than human beings can. So there is this avenue where that science will certainly progress. They will eventually discover new ways of looking and applying that science to paranormal phenomena, and that may give us the answer.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely on the same kind of opinion that a lot of things will will hopefully be explained, should I say, by the same answers. So, and again, touching that you just touched on there, with different dimensions and things like that, or understanding that maybe time doesn't move in a linear way that we think it does, that everything's happening at the same time in the same space, means that we could be seeing things from the past and the future and an alternate universe all at the same time. So when you see things like the Loch Ness Monster, you could be seeing a plesiosaur from 65 million years ago as it was then. You could be seeing craft that is human flying around the sky, or even it might still be extraterrestrial, but from thousands of years in the future, and that these things are these dimensions are bleeding over, and that we can see, some people can see things that other people can't, which science, I think the reason scientists don't like the paranormal is the life after death problem, the need for a heaven and hell and all of these other things that religion would jump on if we proved that there was a life after death. They don't like to touch that in case it just feeds the religious people. But I think that the explanation of a different dimension and just different physical universes happening at the same time wouldn't necessarily need a life after death for it to make sense. So I think that may help explain it, but it might not still be the right answer. It could still be that there is life after death, but I think having that opinion, having that option scientifically, could at least lead scientists to look into this and to research it and to actually do experiments that may lead us to the real answers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I found quite interesting was a few nights ago on BBC Two, we had that documentary called Uncanny.
Yes.
And it was looking at ghost sightings. But what I found equally of interest was the time slip, where a couple of people went back in time. Was it Liverpool? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to mention time slips then. That the same theory would explain time slips too.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. They're going about their own business and suddenly, bang, the whole street changes to 1940s or around about that. And then one lady, the whole shop changed as well. And the man went into the shop and it's all changed. So that doesn't happen all the time. And we need to know why it happens at all, that it is. I mean, there must be answers out there. There's got to be.
Yeah. My favourite story of the time slip was the guy that was shoplifting and the security guard chased him into an alleyway and he'd gone. Like, he had no reason to come forward and say, I was 40, 50 years ago. He just got caught shoplifting. Like, he would have been better off not coming forward. But he was like, "Yeah, dude, this is like, forget shoplifting. This is weird. I need to say, and I don't care what I was doing. I need to mention this. This was odd."
Yeah, there
So
was
yeah,
another one as well. I can't remember if it was France or not. It was one. I was in an old program, Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious
mm,
World, going back a good few years, and a family was on holiday and they stayed at this fantastic French farmhouse, which accommodated obviously bed and breakfast, and it was old, really really old and decrepit, and they, they never had the right money. They had these old coins. He says, no, we need coins like this to pay for your room. And long story short, they thought it all a bit strange, so they stayed there. They actually stayed there one night, and then they moved away, and then they went back to that area. It was either the following year or a few months later for sure, and it was just rubble. There was nothing there, you
yeah,
know. And I mean, you're taking people's stories at face value, and this is why any stories in my book, I have to ensure that they are kosher. And I've got
yeah.
another story for you just now. It concerns a demon. Now,
Oh,
as I say, our society, Strange Phenomena Investigations, we always work with psychics. We don't always work with gizmos and that, because I believe if you've got a good psychic, they really can provide the details. So nothing he says surprises me. And like I said at the top of the show there, he gave a wonderful presentation of clairvoyance last night in Socket. Anyway, this story goes back to October 2020. And it was just at the start, or at the first COVID lockdown, which was very strange. The streets were quiet. I remember it to my dying day. Anyway, Stephen was taking a walk by the River Forth, which is near Stirling in central Scotland, and he was conversing with his spirit family in his head. He was talking to his spirit friends, etc. And then his guardian angel says, "Stephen, you better be careful. Something is opening. Something very evil, something very bad is going to happen." And he knew that if he was getting told this would be true. And then suddenly he saw two of his guardian angels standing beside him. But then at a hedge, a big tall hedge, it was like a portal opening up, a spinning vortex. A big portal was spinning there, and he describes it like a whirlpool of energy. And just then, this demonic entity just sprang forth from this vortex and started running across the grass towards him. Now, at that point, he just put this kind of protection white bubble around him. This energy of light. It sounds Hollywood. It's okay. Listen, it does sound Hollywood, but this is what he did, and to cast this evil away from him. And as soon as this creature, this devil, hit it, it just dematerialized and was gone. And I know it sounds a bizarre story, but as I say, I firmly believe in the honesty and integrity of Stephen as a great psychic. And if he said he saw that, I firmly believe him.
yeah. Well, I'm personally not a believer of the creatures of demons,
Uh-huh.
but definitely more than believe um, that beings have different vibrations, higher vibrational, lower vibrational, and that things with a lower vibration generally aren't very nice. They feel evil, they feel off, they give you that feeling the second you're anywhere near them. They drag everyone else's energy down, and they make everything really, really a horrible place to be. And obviously, you've been around higher vibrational beings, which can people usually assume are their spirit guides and guardian angels and things. They're the beings that will pull you up and make you feel better. And so I kind of stay away from the term demon but that's my opinion, because I'm not a very religious kind of person, and demons usually come from Christianity and things. But I definitely believe in things like that, and that it's definitely not a good thing to be around.
Sure.
Quickly have a look through the comments, because I always say, yeah, drop some questions, and then I've got so many questions and I get sucked into the conversation. I forget that people are leaving comments, so I'll have a quick look. There we go. Speaking of outer limits, Question for Malcolm. What is his impression of the current state of disclosure with the UFO world? And do we actually need those in charge to reveal what we already know is true? I did already have basically the same question, so there you go. You saved me asking the question.
Well, clearly, we're miles ahead of where we were 25, 50 years ago for sure. You know, it was always denial, denial, denial. About 10, 15 years ago, when the Freedom of Information Act was passed in the United States initially, many pre-classified government documents were released to the Joe public, which clearly showed that the NSA, the CIA, and the FBI were actively involved in UFO research. I've said this before on your show. We had many blacked out documents, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph blacked out. Now, we've had the USS Nimitz, USS Theodore Roosevelt, which dispatched Navy jets in pursuit of these fast-moving objects. It was seen off the coast of San Diego. And I mean, these were going at terrific speeds. If this was a normal pilot that was piloting these vehicles, the G-force alone would have killed them instantly, the sharp turns, the speeds, etc. Now, either we're dealing with our own technology, which, wow, can you imagine? Or it's the Chinese, or it's the Russians, or it's something else. And I was so pleased to answer this question. I was so pleased that we had these congressional hearings. We had the NASA hearings. We had the big coming out of the Pentagon as well. So clearly we're on a fantastic ladder now. As far as the people behind that, David Grush and all these people, are these the right people to be pushing it? Well, absolutely, of course. But at this point in time, anybody that's pushing disclosure in America is to be commended and congratulated. And this is why, as I said earlier in your show, that we felt that Great Britain should do likewise. Hence, we went down to 10 Downing Street. But I think we're a far, far better footing now. It's the only downside of this, Nathan, is the American government might be covering up for something else. And what I mean by that is it could be a false flag. In other words, it could be our own technology, and they are more than happy for the ground-based observer to be saying, "Oh yes, it's a UFO," when all along it's our own new RPV drones, it's a new combat aircraft. So whilst that's a possibility, I still don't believe it though. I still think we're dealing with an alien presence. It's behind what's happening in the skies above America.
Yeah, I think if it was a new phenomenon that had only been happening in the last 10, 15 years, I'd be a lot more inclined to believe that they were ours, that our technology was just way more advanced than we're being told, and we can do a lot more than we're being told. But when there's sightings that go back to the 1920s and even earlier than that, there is no way that within 10 years of learning how to fly, we had UFOs capable of doing what they were seen doing in the 1920s. No way.
It's funny because the technology's always kind of mirrored us, though. You had the Scandinavian ghost rockets, the 40s, 50s, these elongated tubular things, you know. And we've had the triangular craft in Belgium in the 1980s. Large triangular craft seem to be the in thing these days. Could that not be our own like budget technology? But these things are as large as 3 or 4 football fields, flying noiselessly across the skies, and it's just baffles me. It really is.
Yeah, and the stories of, even again coming from the US, the stories of these things have got no means of propulsion or no visible means of propulsion. Means they're not using rockets, they're not using fuel, they're not using the means that most planes or anything else we know we have uses. So they've got to be using something that we don't fully, well, the normal people don't fully understand. I think the other downside to the US is, or what's coming out of the US, is they've lied, like you said, with the deny for so long that now they're saying it's all true. Even if it is all true and it is UFOs, I don't believe them because they've lied for so long. Why suddenly are they telling the truth? It makes us not want to trust them. So I don't know where on the fence I sit at the moment, but I'm still sitting on the fence, waiting a little bit longer, see what comes out of it yet.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, it is a funny one because they're now admitting that they have clearly something there. I don't think they're necessarily going as far as to say it's aliens, but they're saying that there's things in the sky that they can't explain. I don't think they're saying it's necessarily aliens and stuff, but it's clearly a step in the right direction. I mean, I often speculate. You mentioned about how could these UFOs fly? What's the propulsion means? Maybe it's a gravitational thing, and what I mean by that is, you and I here on planet Earth, we are feeling 1G gravity. That keeps us a feet on the ground. And so maybe these machines are somehow changing the gravity around the surface of their machines so that they can flip, spin, do this, do that very, very quickly.
Yeah.
That's speculation on my part, but I think it's a gravitational thing.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's the first time I've
especially
ever said that.
I think especially if these things are manned, what not manned, but there's something inside it piloting these things, that there is no way they're doing what they can do if they're not manipulating gravity, because the amount of G-force alone would turn whatever's piloting these things into liquid.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
definitely, they're either not piloted or they have to be manipulating gravity in some way, or they've built their technology in a planet that has a lot more gravity, and they've evolved in an environment with a lot more gravity that they're able to travel through. So here they're like 1G, that's nothing. We can do all of this stuff. We're used to like 30G back where we live. We don't know.
Yeah, that's the first time I've really spoken about this on radio, is the feelings that possibly it could be a gravitational field that's around these things. Again, it's only speculation on my part, but the more I think about it, I think they've managed to operate and discover ways to do this. And again, we shouldn't laugh at these things, because I've said on your show before, we used to laugh at Marconi, we laughed at the Wright brothers, that'll never get off the ground. It did. We laughed at John Logie Baird, the television. People tend to poke fun at new ideas and speculations, and we should always just give it some time, let it sink in, work on it, look out the box. And that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with a subject that we've for the last 100 years, it's just been ufologists sitting in a basement, reading books, writing books, talking to each other, coming up with ideas on our own, because no one else wanted anything to do with it. Now people are joining in and actually putting scientific knowledge and funding and other ideas, and people that actually have answers are coming forward and filling in blanks. That's why the subject is kind of steamrolling ahead a lot faster now. It's not just kind of a couple of people kicking the can down the street hoping for the best. There's a lot more momentum now, so it's definitely kind of running away with us. But as just kind of leads into the next question, there's a lot of new people joining the subject of ufology in the world of paranormal in recent years because of everything that's been going on. Obviously, don't mean to age you here, but as someone that's been researching these topics for 45 years, which British cases would you suggest looking into for these people, either UFO or paranormal?
Well, obviously, there's a substantial amount of old British cases that are worthy of people to get their teeth into, because we're now miles away from just lights, or lits as we used to call them in my day, lights in the sky. Now people want to really find out about the close proximity UFO encounters, like Rendlesham, like Cosford, like the Dick Woods case, the Robert Taylor case, the 70 case, of course. All these cases are there for people to really get their teeth into and wonder what's going on, because we do have, as you said quite rightly, we do have a UFO phenomena. It's always been with us. United Kingdom has got its own UFO window areas, or hot spots for sure. And you're right, a lot of young people are being drawn into this wonderful subject of ours because of the television shows. Back in my day, you only had about 3 channels, and any program that was on about UFOs was heavily one-sided, saying what a lot of nonsense. Now
Yeah.
you've got independent television makers making programs for the BBC or Channel 5, and it's very, very balanced. It really shows you that there is that other side where it's very bizarre. And that's
Yeah.
great to see all these young kids and that coming on, not just UFOs, but ghosts in that way. My God, I mean, I've seen an explosion of groups, paranormal groups, starting here in the UK since 1979 when I founded SBI. So it's great. Yeah, fantastic. Long may it continue.
Yeah. There's definitely, I think, the more social media networks there are with YouTube and Snapchat and TikTok and whatever else, there's the more and more people are finding ways to go into paranormal activity investigation. Some of which are more on the entertainment side, a bit like Most Haunted was back in the day. More of a get, oh look, what's that strange noise? Ah, run out of the room. Like that's not quite an investigation. That's more
Yeah.
just cheap scares. But if it gets people into the subjects, I suppose it's not that bad. We'll let them off. But and I know you've also done a lot of, speaking of hotspots and UFO windows and things. I know you've done a lot of research, sorry, about the area of Bonnybridge and the supposed Falkirk Triangle. There seems to be a lot of sightings in that area, so much so I even had to include it in my own book. Do you have any theories that would explain why this is? Why Bonnybridge?
None at all, to be honest with you, Nathan. I mean, funnily enough, I'm co-writing a book about the Bonnybridge UFO sightings with a fellow Scottish author by the name of Ron Halliday, and him and I is working on this Bonnybridge book. So I'll write about, what I believe was going on through the years, as will Ron. And I mean, I was working in the Bonnybridge area in 1982, 10 years before the Bonnybridge Enigmas kicked off in 1992. I never knew Billy Buchanan back then in 82. I was dealing with witnesses in the Denny area, which is a wee town adjacent to Bonnybridge. But there's no denying, we did a Skywatch there with Talk TV just last month, and we had a great crowd turned up, and they were all sharing their stories on UFOs and aliens. And if anybody wants to see that, they can go to my Facebook page, and if you scroll down, you'll see the town with the most UFO sightings in the world. Something stupid. They dubbed that, And but yeah, it's there's no denying it. Bonnybridge has always had these sightings. It's a combination of lights in the sky. It's a combination of your classic flying saucer shape, like two soup plates joined rim to rim. You have the tubular things being seen in the sky, and also large black triangle craft. One of the cases in one of my previous books, where I mentioned this, was there were motorists driving towards the Castle Carry Viaduct, which is near Bonnybridge, and they suddenly became aware of this large black triangular craft that was hovering above this railway viaduct. It was then joined by a secondary, similar large black triangle, and were point to point above this viaduct. So you can imagine all the cars are slowing down, they're dropping their speed, and they're peering out through the windscreen of the cars at these objects. And bang, they just suddenly rose up into the air and they were gone, absolutely disappeared. But as for an answer, I mean, Bonnybridge and Stirlingshire is just a rural farming area with various towns dotted about. You have the Grangemouth petrochemical plant, a big industrial plant, which is near Bonnybridge, well, 3 or 4 miles away from Bonnybridge. But there's nothing significant that you could say. There's no any naval bases, there's no any army bases, nothing significant. So it beats me. It beats me.
Yeah, I did a quick look when researching for the book. It was just kind of information very short chapter of. There was so much it wasn't worth. Again, you could have written a whole book on it. So I tried to give it a quick chapter, so I didn't want to touch too much or go into too much detail. But I mentioned Ron Halliday a few weeks ago while recording a podcast. We were discussing the idea, we were discussing the Loch Ness Monster
Oh
and
yeah.
discussing the idea that, as I mentioned earlier, that perhaps it's just a creature that's living its life millions of years ago and that we're just seeing into a different dimension. And it was about 6 months ago, I sat there, we're having this idea, like, wow, that's a really, that, that really would explain things like the Loch Ness Monster. That's a really good theory. I'm glad I thought of that. I'm really clever. And then I listened back to my interview with Ron Halliday, where he told me that the Loch Ness Monster could be explained by a different dimension. I was like, oh, it wasn't a fantastic theory. Well, it was, but it wasn't mine. It was just remembered Ron Halliday's theory. I was like, ah, crap. There's me thinking I was intelligent. I'm just really slow at remembering other people's theories. Ah, damn it.
Well,
But yeah,
that's I mean,
so you got another plug.
it's just a theory. I'm aware of Ron's
Yeah.
theory, and other people say that it could be some form of tulpa. And a tulpa is either a person or a creature that people can, just think about it and seriously try and draw it up like they did with the Philip experiment, the Sorat group in Canada. They conjured up this character, they gave him a name and a career and everything. He didn't really exist. And they all sat for hours and days and months, and finally they got the spirit of this guy who they made up. So, but getting back to Loch Ness, the Tulpa, maybe you've got all these people all over the world thinking about Nessie, and is that manufacturing some form of tulpa, some form of creature in their mind's eye? Pure speculation. But then again, you look back through the history books, you look at the ancient yogis, and they claim that they could create these people, imaginary people, suddenly appear on the slopes of the Himalayas, etc. So who knows? Who knows?
I mean, there's a lot of people out there that believe in the power of manifesting, where if enough people say something, want something, it can
Oh yeah.
manipulate the world. There's science backing it that people, when really, I think when 9/11 happened, all of the random number generators that go between ones and zeros all swung one way because there were so many people that were shocked and sad and appalled, and that suddenly all the number generators changed. If enough people in a room think one thing, they can have an effect on the surroundings. So if enough people believe that a creature exists, they could physically create a creature and make it physically exist.
Yeah, I mean that's something we certainly need to explore and do more experimentation on. It would be wonderful to set up another group solely whose sole purpose is to maybe create a tulpa, create a water monster, a UFO, or a ghost. Like I said a moment ago, they did that in Canada with the conjuring up of this spirit called Philip. They just made him up. We need to try that again and see if that's possible. That would be
I
an
mean,
interesting one to do.
that could be an explanation for what's happening with CE5. You're not actually calling a creature from the other side of the universe. There's lots and lots of people sitting in a circle, pushing their intention up into the universe, hoping to see a UFO. You're just literally manifesting it. You're creating a light in the sky. You're creating what you want to see.
Yeah, very true. Stephen Greer and his group, they do a lot of that, as you know, the CE5 protocols, and they generate these light forms to appear, which they have video evidence. A lot of controversy about it. I'm not saying they're not, of course there is. But having said that, I think that's possibly the way to go as well. Maybe more groups in Britain should try more CE5 protocols and see where we go.
Well, we did our own Skywatch joint with Bufog in the summer, and then we did we did a kind of a CE5 sort of a meditation sort of kind of hybrid thing, and we had some weird results. We saw some lights doing things that lights shouldn't do. So a few weeks later, some of the other people had arranged to do their own Skywatch and kind of called us along. So we were like, yeah, cool, why not? So we sat there and we watched lights that didn't move for over half an hour flicking back, looked like a star, but flashing in response to a flashing laser. So the laser would flash 3 times. This light would flash 3 times. I can't explain that. It didn't move. It
Yeah.
didn't fly across the sky. It wasn't an aeroplane or a satellite. And then it just stopped. But we'd all done this CE5 meditation-y thing, trying to make something happen. And then we got weird lights in the sky. So was that a response? Were we using our mind to call out to things in the universe, like Stephen Greer claims, or did we just manifest a light to do something strange in the sky? Or
Yeah.
is the whole thing just a simulation and we're just living inside a computer game and the computer game just made a light appear for us?
Well, that's something else. I know a couple of years
That's a whole other show.
we had another Skywatch at Deckman Woods, the scene of the Robert Taylor incident, and we had a lady there, and she claimed that she could call these craft down, etc. So I'm not going to chase her away, of course. Yeah, come on the Skywatch. Yeah, it'd be nice to have you, of course. Let's go. So along she came, and she says, "Right, Malcolm, I'm going to try this experiment now and call these light beings forward." And she says, "There's one there in the sky. We couldn't see a thing." And I says, "Whereabouts?" She says, "There. In fact, there's some small beings at the edge of that tree just over there." And again, I couldn't see a thing. Now, is it because I'm not attuned to that? Am I not psychically aware to see these beings, whereas she is? Like I said
Yeah,
on your show before, you could have 5 people in a haunted room and only 2 see the spirit. The others can't see it because they're not psychically attuned, like the old radio moving from BBC Radio 1 to BBC Radio 2. And so maybe it's that. So that I still don't knock that lady. I think she's very gifted, and but I couldn't see anything that night. But yeah, these are experiments. I agree with you, Nath. These are experiments. Let's have more UFO groups trying the CE5 protocols. Let's see where we go, and have those video cameras ready. Most importantly.
Yeah, and I'd have to, next time I do a Skywatch and we do the same experiment, I'd like to do one where we do the CE5 protocols and we're physically asking something. You know, you reach out in your mind through meditation and call something to do it, or we all just sit and think of the same thing. Just imagine seeing a light right there in the sky, point to a certain place. That's where we're going to see a light. We're all going to see a UFO right there. And then if it happens, that's more manifestation than it is actual aliens, actual UFOs, CE5. Try and figure out which way round is it, which one actually is working. Are we manifesting, or are we just actually communicating through meditation with an alien species somewhere? Be very interesting to find out which one's which.
Well, you've got me thinking now. Whilst you were talking there, I'm thinking, maybe the next SBI Skywatch, wherever that may be, I'd like to try that now. You've got me thinking. I really want to get the team together and try just what you said, and do these protocols and see what happens. Because other than that lady, we've never done that. All we've done in Skywatch is just look skywards. Oh, that's a satellite. That's an aircraft. But we've never tried that. So now's the time to change the focus of our Skywatching and get that ticked off for sure.
Yeah, because the worst that can happen is nothing happens and you go, well, that didn't work, and you just go back to looking at the stars and the satellites and hoping for the best. So but yeah, I definitely suggest as well, take the lasers and flick away, see whether anything flashes back, because that I couldn't explain. That was weird.
Well, that's what I forget the guys. The Arthur Shuttlewood did back in Warminster back in the 60s. Of course, he didn't have lasers. He was doing his torch, flashing into the night sky. And then we tried that. I don't know if I mentioned that on your show the last time. We tried that at a wee place called Altby in Wester Ross. This gentleman says, "Malcolm, I'm using a torch to flash into the night sky and I'm getting these bursts of light coming down. Do you want to travel up and see this?" Absolutely. long story short, we drove up to this location in the Scottish hills, beautiful scenery, a lovely starry sky, not a cloud. It was great, perfect sky watching conditions. And we got the torches. We walked maybe about 500-600 yards, and we started flashing the torch into the night sky. Now, you could not make this up, because what happened then was like a massive big column of light, tubular column of light, descended from the heavens, and it stopped. And I've got the camera. I've got the camera around my neck, and I was I was too dumbfounded, amazed to even lift it up and take a photograph. And when I came out of that stupor, I went, "Got to take a photograph," and then doof, it was gone. They seem to be one step ahead of us, in every way we do. It's so frustrating at times.
Yeah, I say I think 98% maybe of the cases, the UFO cases I've personally investigated, have ended with I went to tell somebody, or I went to get a camera, or I grabbed my phone from my pocket, and that split second you take your eye off it, you look back, gone, every single time. But I think, can't remember exactly when tonight I wanted to mention it, but as a response to something one of us said, the weirdest UFO sightings that I thought, I investigated one. Well, actually, I got one of my other investigators to do it. She wanted her first investigation, so I was like, "Here you go, do this one. This will be interesting for you." It was described as amoeba-like, like clear, see-through blob of like gelatinous mass just floating in the sky with like red and green lights floating in it. And I was like, well, that's unique. That's different. I haven't heard of many of these. But the more I looked into it, the more of them I found, the more witnesses to these. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, there's possible explanations for triangles, for tic-tac shapes, for all that. What the is that thing? I can't explain that. That's weird.
But Andy Collins, the great author Andy Collins, I've met a few times now. He wrote a book years ago. The name escapes me just now, and it's all about that. It's all about these amoeba-like things in the sky. It's like a jellyfish in the sky, for want of a better word. And we're not talking structured craft here. We're not talking craft with lights. We're talking about like jellyfish in the sky. I just wish I could remember the name of the book, but I dare say some of your listeners may be aware of that. And it's a very, very interesting book, because it takes the UFO subject to a different level entirely.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I just assumed it was one witness, because I'd never heard of any of these cases. So when this person came forward, I thought, well, that's odd. I don't know what that is. That'll be a weird one. I'll get my other investigator to do that. That'll be something weird to break her into investigating. And then we both researched to see if we could find, any other witnesses, and we found so many other witnesses to so many other cases. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So strange. But last few questions, as speaking of things we can't explain, obviously with so much experience, could you give us an example of something where you've gone out to either investigate something, or someone's given you a piece of evidence and you've been able to easily give it a mundane explanation?
Yeah, I mean, when I lived in London, there was a gentleman who called us up and said, I've got to come to his house and see this UFO footage. It's the best UFO footage I'll ever see. And I went, wow, rubbing my hands. I couldn't wait to see this. So we jumped in the car, went over to the guy's house. He inserted the VHS tape, and within seconds, I'm going, oh dear. And I knew straight away that it was laser lights in the distance illuminating low-lying cloud in the concentric circles, etc. Oh, it looked amazing. Don't get me wrong, it looked fantastic. But when you're in this field for so many years and you try and tick all the boxes, you try and learn what could be in the sky, etc. And I knew straight away. So to answer your question, he says, well, what do you think? What do you think? Well, do you want to know what I think? Yes. I think it's laser lights. What? No chance. How dare you say it's laser lights? Get out of my house.
Yeah.
You're meant to believe in these things. So a few days later, I found out it was a new discotheque that had opened up in a town about 5-6 miles away, and they had the laser lights that same night, that same time. And so that was one of a few cases that I could safely say that sorry, there's a few more cases is coming to my mind as I'm talking. They had an elderly lady who stayed in Glasgow, more or less the same thing. Oh, you've got to come to my house because these UFOs are there between 8:30 and 9 o'clock at night, and by Christ, you'll see them. So myself and my team went up to the lady's house, and she made us all a cup of tea. It was very, very formal, and wee chocolate biscuits. The curtains were drawn, the lights were out, and we're gazing at the sky. There's one, there's one. And all it was a passenger airline, coming into land in Glasgow Airport.
Yeah.
So these are few and far between. And they're not hoaxers. They're people who genuinely think that they've seen something strange and they want answers. And thankfully that doesn't happen a lot. But when it does, Oh, and there was another lady, sorry, here's another one. She had a haunted house and a lot of strange things was happening in her house. So I say it's all about observation, Nathan, as you and your team will know. I'm saying, well, are you interested in ghosts and all that? Oh, no, not me, son. No. And I looked behind her and I saw a bookcase and it was full of ghostly books. So it's all about observation. Keep your wits about you when you're investigating,
Yeah. Well, it's I think most people when they come to me with a what have I seen? I saw this. They describe it again, like you said. You have to kind of look into the witness because most of them they don't have any evidence. If they do, it'll be a quick photo or a little bit of wobbly footage, and that's most of the time what you get. So you need to judge the character. Are they a person that would be happy to kind of make something up? Annoyingly, the more into UFOs you are, the less likely people are to believe that you saw one. Because, oh, well, you're into it, you must have wanted to see one. And like, if I went outside tomorrow and had a massive UFO sighting, no one would believe me because I'm a UFO investigator. I would be the kind of person that would be likely to make it up, so no one would believe me. But when you investigate these things for people, you will 9 times out of 10, you won't have an answer. You'll have suggestions for it could have been. It may have been. If you saw something just slowly drifting across the sky in one speed and didn't do anything spectacular, but it looked a strange shape and it was kind of like it was spinning and reflecting the like flashing lights at you, that could have been a helium balloon that was spinning in the wind and reflecting the sun. I'm not saying it was. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it could have been. So there will be a lot of may be this mundane explanation. May still be a UFO. We don't know. But there's definitely a lot of people, like you said then, that don't want to hear the mundane explanation because they're so determined that they've seen something outstanding that they don't like the mundane explanation, even if it's just a possibility. We had one not long after we started our group on Facebook that said, "I have the best video anyone will ever see that shows a portal opening up in the sky above my garden." So, okay, can we see the video? Not yet. And he just kept posting the same still from the video that didn't really show a lot. It was dark and you could see silhouettes of trees and this weird kind of circular-ish light in the sky. I was like, I can't give you it's sending it me in a message. What do you think this is? A weird blurry photo. I don't know. I'm gonna need to see the video. And when we sent the video in, it was within seconds, it was obvious that someone had turned on a torch and flashed it up at the sky and then back down again. He claimed that like the circular bit at the end of the torch was coming from the sky and that the light was working its way down to the ground. No, it's very obvious that someone that was coming from the ground and not the sky. That was just someone out walking a dog flashing the torch at the sky. That wasn't anything spectacular, but he didn't want to hear it either. He was, no, it's a portal. It was the okay. You asked me for my
Yes.
opinion. That's what it is.
Sometimes it is, as you said earlier, the desire to believe in these things overwhelms people, and they don't see they just don't see far enough what they're trying to do. Because I'm still skeptical in any case we go into, even though I'm a firm believer that we're dealing with a non-human intelligence and always have been. Even though I believe in that, I'm still damn skeptical. You've really got to prove that it's a UFO or something unusual. Same with the ghosts and the paranormal. And some of these photographs and bits and bobs that we were speaking about there, a lot of it, there's a lot of photographs that come into our society are pure pareidolia or simulacrum. And for those listeners that's not sure what that is, it's like the human brain is hardwired to see faces in anything. It could be the clouds in the sky. Oh, look, that looks like a face. That's a horse. And it's patterns in the trees, light, shade, etc. We look at Jesus burnt into a bit of toast. We see all these things in tree trunks and stuff. And it's just because the human brain is hardwired to see faces and things. With UFO or paranormal investigators, I would like to think all these new guys and gals that's coming forward now trying to get into this field, and God bless them all, they've got to do a crash course on how to investigate ghosts and UFOs. You don't just go in and ask a few questions. You've got to get in touch with the airports, the police, the Met Office, the Ministry of Defence. You've got to triangulate the height patterns of any object seen, etc., etc. I would hate to think that any new people coming in just want to ask a couple of quick questions and they're done. That's not the way to do it. And but I'd like to think, they'll know what they're doing. They've got to do that.
Yeah, it's like, speaking of the investigator I had looking into the amoeba, she's in the comments. So it's hard doing a case report knowing you've gone through each aspect and have to end with unknown because nothing's definitive. Even if we want to say, yes, that's a UFO, you can't, because you don't know that it's... You say it's a UFO, even though it's unidentified and a flying object. It has connotations of an alien craft, which you can't say definitively it's an alien craft. So you don't want to say it's a UFO. You have to just say, I don't know what it is, and leave it open. But another one, she going back to Ren's comment, she had her own little unexplained phenomena the other day that got her on the news on Friday, I want to say it was. She was out sky watching, looking at the stars, and suddenly a big bright pink light in the sky lit up the entire sky. And she was like, what the hell's that? That's weird. And obviously thinking, is it something alien? Is it a UFO? Is it what's going on? It turned out there was, I think it was just like pink LED lights at a farm or whatever it was, a few miles down the road, and it lit up the sky. But she didn't know that piece of information to start with.
Yeah.
So unless you look into everything, it could have a very, very simple explanation. Once you look into like every possible, there you go, vegetable nurseries, that's what it was. They just had pink LED lights, and they just happened to be lighting up the cloud. So it's the amount of sightings that are explained by military flares or parachute clubs and things. Like another one of the videos that came out of the US recently, there was I think it was it 5 or 10, might have been 5 videos that were released by Border Patrol, and they were like, what's this? What's it? It was a paraglider. You could easily see it was a paraglider, like the silhouette of it. And they were like, what's this? This is weird. Like, well, that one's obvious. But if you don't usually see them in your area, you might not know. If you just see the silhouette of it above your house as a triangular shape, it's weird. You need to contact things like, are there any local groups that do skydives? Are there any local parachutey groups that may be using flares and things? You have to check everywhere when you're investigating. Like you said, don't just ask a couple of questions and blindly believe I've seen a UFO or we saw a ghost. Or you have to kind of try and explain it away as best you can, even when you really, really, really want to believe that it's something weird.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's, as I said earlier, it's this desire to believe in these subjects by some people overwhelms them, their sense of normality and stuff. People got to just look at the subject realistically. People may think that people like you and I believe willy-nilly. Of course we don't. Of course we don't. We check everything. We tick all the boxes. I'm not an expert. I've been called an expert in the media, but I'm not. I know nothing. I'm just a guy who's been involved for over 45 years, traveling the length and breadth of the UK and Europe, just trying to look for answers. But it doesn't make me an expert. I can give speculations, I can give my own thoughts and etc. And I would like to think that my books and my lectures have at least, I wouldn't say educated, but certainly, made people think out. And that's all I want to do, is just make people think. Don't ignore it. Don't turn away from this subject, because there is clearly something there. It's like a big sieve with a wire mesh, and you're trying to get rid of all the rubbish. All the rubbish falls through the wee wires, but there's some kernels that will not go through that wire mesh. And these are the cases that you and I, Nathan, love to get involved with, love to find out answers. And if there's a normal answer, brilliant, fantastic, absolutely great. But and more often than not, there is a logical explanation. But it's that small percent that drives you and I, Nathan, to find out more.
Yeah, it drives you crazy because you can't think of an answer. You're like, what is it? I need to know. Like, even if there was a logical explanation for everything, it'd be annoying that I didn't think of it earlier, but I'd still be happy getting the answer. Right, cool. Now I know. What else do I need to dive into? Because now I've got nothing else to think about, nothing else to keep me up at night.
Take up golf.
Oh no, I couldn't do that. Jesus. So let me have another quick look. And yes, one more thing I don't know how we managed to complete this. Skip this, but since we last spoke, there has been a little bit more information. Speaking of photographs and things of a famous Scottish case with the Calvine UFO photo that was leaked, whichever way you want to look at it, in the last 12 months. What was your opinion of the photo once you saw it?
Well, obviously, there's been a lot of controversy about the Calvine photograph for sure, taken allegedly near Pitlochry. And there's an American researcher who put his video on my Facebook site. The name escapes me just now. But what he's saying is that it's actually, it sounds bizarre, but here we go. He says that the object, this diamond-shaped object that you see in the photograph, is actually the top of a distant mountain, which due to temperature inversion layers, the hot and the cold air meeting together, is flipped the top of that jagged pointed mountain. So it's jaggy in the top and it's jaggy in the bottom. It's a temperature inversion layer. Now, do I believe that? Probably not. There's a Scottish researcher, he doesn't do much now, a guy called Stuart Campbell, who Stuart and I used to cross swords with on radio shows back in the day. He firmly believes that a lot of, the Trinidad Island photograph, for instance, he believes is a mirage of, I think it was a planet or something like Jupiter. That the heavenly bodies...
It's always swamp gas coming out of Uranus, isn't it?
yeah, that's true. And so the Calvin photograph, he believes, is this mirage of the top of a mountain. I don't believe it. The video will be out there. Is it Mike Barra? But anyway, it's it's difficult because we don't truly have allegedly the photographers or the photographer really, and if we need his testimony. They line up where they believe the photograph was taken with some fence posts with the distant mountains, etc. Although there's no mountains, as I recall, in the original photograph. And
Yeah.
the fence posts have moved, but that they may have just moved over time with the earth getting sodden and they just lean over.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. It's probably Scotland's best, or one of the best claimed UFO photographs. But I think it's suspicious. I really do.
Yeah. I think we need to see. There's apparently a lot more photographs that were covered up and locked up, and with how long because it was only a year before the photo came out that it was reclassified for another however many years, 30 years, 50
I
years,
think it's
whatever
another
they
70.
classified it as.
Uh-huh.
So there's obviously something there. If that was just a photograph of a mountain, there is no way that the MOD would have classified it in the first place, let alone reclassified it in like
Very
2020.
true. Very true.
And then you also have to completely ignore the testimony that apparently the story that they saw it in the sky and that it hung around for a while and then it flew off. Mountains don't fly off. This is
Yeah.
a lot of the people that are completely non-believers. Skeptical, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Complete debunkers, I
Yeah.
don't get on with because they like to cherry pick the bits of information that they can debunk. That they go, oh, well, that could be this, and they ignore the rest of the evidence, and they'll go, this little bit could be explained by this. There's your answer. What about the witness testimony? They lied. Oh, okay. So I've got to believe you, but I don't believe this little old lady that has no reason to lie. Like, yeah, I don't like people that are like that. But there's, for me, it's definitely. I heard lots of, like you said, it was either the temperature inversion or it was just a picture of a lake with a rock in it, and it's just a reflection.
Yeah.
But like you said, one, rocks and mountains don't run away, and two, why would the Ministry of Defence classify a photo of a rock in a pond for however many years? So,
Yeah.
annoyingly, I don't think we're ever going to see the rest of the photos.
No, don't think so.
So,
The piece of YouTube footage was indeed by Mike Barra. And if your listeners want to go to YouTube and type in Calvine UFO photo mystery solved, you'll hear this crazy explanation that's at the top of a mountain. So go to YouTube, the Calvine UFO photograph, photo mystery solved. And Mike Barra is claiming this was a mountaintop.
yeah. Yes, definitely. Again, like I said, it may explain the photo, but it doesn't explain the story behind the photo or any of the other testimony or anything like that. So, again, kind of cherry picking things to debunk. It kind of ticked me a little bit. So let's see. Have another look through the comments. Outer Limits magazine. Good show, enjoyed it. Thanks for asking my question of Malcolm, who tonight is doing his impersonation of the Invisible Man. Yeah, he's just an out-of-bodied voice. It's eerie. I like it. But yeah, I just before you leave, I was gonna just mention the fact of as we said that we like to be skeptical and we like to not blindly believe things. We especially, or I especially, don't like to believe the things that happen in my own house because when I see something that I can't explain, I don't like it. So I'm going to quickly think of something that it might have been. We've had a lot of weird paranormal stuff going on since we moved into this house. We've had a little girl pushing our daughter's little toy push chair around the room. My wife heard the little girl singing along to Stevie Nicks and turned around and there was nobody there. And we've heard things. We've seen shadows at the corner of your eye, people walking down the hallway. We've had visitors come in the house and they've seen them. I walked out of that door there a few months ago and stopped to let someone pass me because I saw them out the corner of my eye and there was nobody there. But the scariest one was about 2 months ago. I was in my daughter's bedroom repainting, and I had already heard my son in the next room talking to somebody. Who's he talking to? and everyone else was downstairs. I could hear them. Once I heard him talking, I started listening, and everyone else was downstairs. I was like, I shouted in, "Who are you talking to?" And he just kind of ignored me and carried on playing. So that was strange. Carried on painting the wall. And as I turned round, I saw a full-bodied apparition of a man leaning his elbow up the door frame, just leaning like just this part of his arm on the door frame, with his hand on his hip, watching
Uh-huh.
me paint. And I noticed so much detail that I could tell you he was wearing a Celtic shirt. I don't know anyone that could have been. I have no idea who my brain could have made up that would have been standing there watching me decorate in a Celtic shirt. But I looked away, thought, who the fuck hell's that? Look back, and he's not there. So I'm like, okay, that was weird. And within 30 seconds, I heard my wife in the kitchen shouting. I was like, she must have, like, maybe because she was cleaning, I assume maybe the dog had got under her feet or something. She was just shouting, "Oh, well, yeah," kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I'll go see what's doing her head in a minute. And I went downstairs, and before I managed to tell her what I saw, she told me that it wasn't the dog she was shouting at. It was the man in the doorway that scared the hell out of her when she stood up.
Wow. Jesus.
So within 5 minutes, we both saw a full-bodied apparition of a man, but he was wearing different clothes. So
Right.
I don't know what we saw, but that was strange. And to kind of bookend the strange paranormal things that we've seen in the house, the first thing that ever happened was within about 6 months of moving in, I think it was, in the middle of the day, we heard what sounded like one of the cupboards falling off the wall in the kitchen. Like lots of things smashing, huge bang, loads of smashes and bangs and stuff following it. And we're like, what the hell is that? So running into, I'm downstairs, the wife's upstairs. She shouted down to me, thinking the cupboard had fallen in the kitchen. I'm standing in the kitchen, thinking she's broke something upstairs. Check the house, nothing. Check the neighbours, nothing. Haven't thought of anything that could explain it since.
Well,
And at some point last week, we were out, and the little kids were in bed. The older kids were babysitting, and one of them messaged saying, I just thought something fell over, and it sounded like the whole house shook. So I thought it was an earthquake. So the dogs 5 minutes before started barking at a random part of the wall for no reason.
uh-huh.
And then it sounded like the entire house shook. He said he felt it and searched the house and nothing. I've checked
Wow.
to make sure the roof hadn't fallen in. Like physically nothing wrong with the house, nothing wrong inside the house, nothing wrong with any of the neighbours' houses. No idea what that was.
Wow. That is
Just
absolutely astonishing.
weird. But if anyone asks, it was temperature fluctuations or just shadows. I don't want to believe that this stuff's going on in my house. It was just normal mundane things.
Wow. That is, I mean, that's just typifies the type of stuff that people see on a regular basis throughout the United
Yeah.
Kingdom. There are many stories similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible that you've experienced them. It's great.
Yeah. So I think the funniest thing, the film Sinister, I want to say it is the horror film. They move into a new house and he finds these like little videotapes, tiny little ones that you put in the little projector. And they show all of these like scary things of people dying and blah blah blah. When we were moving in, I said to the wife, I was like kind of joking as I was putting empty boxes in the loft. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I found these tapes in the loft? She was like, don't even joke. I don't need that. Don't terrify me. So I got up into the loft and I found a box of tiny little slides of
Wow.
someone's family and whatever in the 70s. And I was like, you'll never guess what I found. She's like, no, you didn't. And then I showed her. And she's like, put them back now. Don't move them. Put them back. So they've been sitting in my kitchen for months.
Wow.
I've completely forgot that I left them there. But yeah, that's the only evidence I've got of anyone that ever lived here before. So I have no idea what the hell's going on. But we've had lots and lots of stuff going on. So, but she's all like, "Oh no, I need it to go away," and getting her sage out and trying to scare everything away. And I'm like, "Stop it, stop it! I want it to carry on. I want to see more. I want the
Of
evidence."
course, absolutely. That's what you want, you know. You want to
Exactly. Stop
document
scaring it
it,
off.
record it, film it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
it
like,
still?
I want to get some cameras and start filming stuff. And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, I want it to go away." I'm like, where's the fun in that? Nothing hurt me. It's fine.
Wow.
I think,
Is it still happening?
well, that was the last strange noise was about 4 or 5 days ago.
Uh-huh.
So as far as I know, it's still happening. I
Okay.
think I've told the story on here, but I'm not sure whether you'd have heard the story that we did
No.
a Ouija board last year because
Uh-huh.
the missus was always terrified of them because obviously Hollywood makes these things look demonic and terrifying. So we were like,
Yeah.
kind of explained it's a bit of wood. Like it's just a divination tool. There's nothing more scary than about that than there is a crystal or tarot cards or any of the other things that you can use.
Yeah.
So she let me do a Ouija board, but she was like she'll only let me do it with certain people that she trusts not to manipulate it and lie. So we sat there for nearly an hour while this thing didn't really move a lot. It just sort of easily explainable by just twitches in your finger all sort of moving it. So we're sitting there silently, and I was like, "This is." So I know there's something here because we've had all of this activity. I was like, "If there's any spirits here, could you show yourself?" And we heard, the little plastic window in an envelope, that really
Yeah.
thin kind
Yeah.
of that rustly sound it makes. I heard
Uh,
that noise, and I was like, "What the hell's that?" But it was on the other side of the room. What is that? So I kind of went looking for it, and as I spotted the envelope, it stopped. So I moved the envelope, and behind it was a bottle of Jack Daniels. So I asked for spirits, and the sarcastic shit that was obviously standing in my kitchen rustled the envelope to show me the spirits. I was like, not that kind of spirit. So I've got a sarcastic ghost apparently that's just messing with me while I'm doing Ouija board. For fuck's sake.
but
So
it was
whatever
your
it is,
spirit, so it was your Jack Daniels, yeah, or your
yeah.
whiskey. Yeah.
I mean, if it had just appeared, I'd be like, fantastic. What else can it bring me?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's have a quick look through the comments and then I'll let you go. We'll see if there's anything. Stacey, my thermostat dial turned itself on this week. My heating turned itself on this week, but I don't think that was paranormal. I think the temperature just got a bit too cold and it came on. I wasn't very happy when I realised that the heating had been on. But like, oi, you know how expensive that is? Turn it off. Had somebody call my name in my right ear, clear as day, scared the crap out of me. Yep. One of our my brother-in-law's girlfriend said the weirdest thing once. She said, when you're just falling asleep, just as you're nodding off and you hear someone whisper your name in your ear. I'm like, no. She's like, what, that doesn't happen to you every day? No. Oh, weird ass things have you been happening? Like, yep, so that's another strange person having some strange things going on. Like, you might want to look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people hearing someone whispering to them. Yes, very strange. So I'll let you go, and have you got any? I know you've got your book that you said you're writing with Ron Halliday at the moment. Is there anything
Uh-huh.
else you've got coming out or coming up that you want to plug or mention?
No, I mean, obviously, if anybody's interested in reading any of my books, they are available on Amazon, a combination of ghosts, poltergeists, UFOs, and of course, my beloved Loch Ness Monster. So, anybody wants to read any more about that, just dance over to Amazon and you'll see that there. And I'd just like to thank you very, very much, Nathan, for having me back on your show and discussing some of the stories from my book and having a good old chat about things weird and wonderful, because there's nothing better late at night than talking about this stuff. It's really fantastic.
It is. And yeah, more than welcome anytime you like. I will definitely be purchasing lots and lots of copies of all of the books. And I think I mentioned it last year, that we, me and a few other people that I do some investigating with, are hoping to come up to Bonnie Bridge at some point, but then they all got like really busy with work. It's still in the works at some point, so I'll bring all the books with me and I'll meet up with you and see if I can get you to sign them all, make them worth a bit more money for when I resell them.
Yeah, that'd be great. Obviously, if you can come up to Bonnie Bridge, we'd love to take you around the sites and meet you, let you meet some of the witnesses. So yeah, fingers crossed that could happen.
Cool. And I'll see you all soon. Everyone else, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I don't think I've got another live this month. We've got 2 podcast episodes going out in October. We have too many parties planned for it's Halloween, and obviously our house is always it's Halloween all year round here. So when it's actually Halloween, it's a reason to get dressed up and get drunk. So that we're going to be too busy getting drunk to do live shows. The next one is the 5th of November, where I have Neil. No, not Neil. I can't remember the name of the guest. I've rearranged some of the dates. So very, very, very professional of me. We've got the name of the guest. We will be back on the 5th of November. Keep an eye out on YouTube and Facebook and whatever for that. And we will see you all soon.